get all cleaned up and put away.
Hello, happy Friday, everyone. How you doing? I am Dakota. I'm joined today by Mrs. Myra Galt. And it's our Friday Live with Galt Advocacy. If you're watching this afterwards, go ahead and leave us a comment, leave us a like and a share, and share with whoever you think might need to know about this. We're going to be talking about Regional Center today. And if you're here with us live, say hi. Let us know how you're doing this weekend. Let us know how you feel about this topic that we're going to be talking about. And if you have questions, we're going to try and tackle as many questions as we can when we're getting into our topics. So good to see people here. Before we get into the topic, it's usually good for us to give a little time for people to show up. So is there anything that's been going on with you lately or going on with the company, going on with special education that you want to just tell people about? I mean, I think last week or the week before we did talk a little bit about how you have Mr. Stearns, I believe it is.
Louis Stearns. So I am not doing court, and I'm really thrilled.
You're loving that, right?
Louis Stearns came to us from a county. He decided to change sides. And on top of that, we have Mitchell in our office, who I've been teaching and training to do my job. It's not that I'm retiring and I'm not going to be here. It's that
yet.
I'm not doing court. So now I have a bit more time to kind of talk to staff and clients, and
apparently you can be here on our lives more often as well. That's nice
too.
Anyway, so it is great to have more people moving into doing hearings, really be able to dedicate a whole lot of their time to just focusing in on that, because it's a big part of
it's so much.
Of I mean, for us, it's IHSS, but a lot of programs, that it is sort of like the end point where if you can't win at a hearing, what else can you do, right?
Yeah. We have, I think right now, over 70 cases waiting for dates to be heard. All of them are IHSS protective supervision, a couple of adoption assistance cases. But for me, I've done this for years, and it's very, very intense to prepare to go to court and to have all your evidence go in and all of that. It's very intense. So
back in the day, you'd only have a couple of cases going on. You'd have one or two, maybe a dozen at most. Now it's wild how much it's grown, right?
Yeah, we're getting a ton of calls because people all over the state are losing their IHSS protective supervision. And there's a reason for that. And I'll share that today.
Well, we know we do love talking about IHSS, but as we say, it is going to be mostly about Regional Center and some new things that are going on with you. Like I said, if you are here, leave us a comment. I think somebody just said, Celeste said hi, or recommendations for trust and conservatorship. Maybe let's get into our topic a little bit, and then we can come back to talk about this topic. But we will go over any questions people have. But let's jump in a little bit to the main on here, which is Regional Center.
Yeah, there's some new regulations coming out that we think all of our families should know about. First one is IHSS is a program that we help families get all the time.
Yeah.
Regional Center is now going to, let me back up. Regional Center is the payer of last resort. You probably all heard of that. What that means is they only pay for things that no one else will pay for. And so one of the things that they're going to be doing now is requiring you to get IHSS and to get the maximum amount of hours that you can qualify for with IHSS. And
now they'll require that before what?
Before they'll provide services.
Okay. Well, I mean, does this cover like respite services?
No, because IHSS doesn't cover respite.
Right, they're different.
So it's the services that IHSS cover: bathing, oral hygiene, bowel and bladder, duration, going to doctor's appointments, and protective supervision. Now, many times people will come to us where I'm doing the intakes, meaning I'm doing the free consults that we offer, myself and another staff member. So when you call, I'm getting these calls where people are losing their benefits, or they think that their child is eligible and their child isn't by IHSS. Well, the problem I see now with this new way that regional center is going to be functioning is you have IHSS that's denying services even when they should grant them. And you have regional center saying, you know, you have to get your services through IHSS. And if IHSS says you don't need protective supervision, or you don't need bathing and oral hygiene and all of that, even if the child or the person needs that, because IHSS says don't need it, our big concern is regional center will then say, well, we can't help you either. So I'm sending people, for example, who have a regional center client that doesn't qualify for protective supervision, but they need 24 hours of supervision, but they don't qualify for IHSS because they may have behaviors that warrant supervision round the clock, but their memory and orientation are okay. So then they don't qualify.
They don't qualify according to IHSS.
According to IHSS. But then that denial will go straight to regional center, and our concern is that regional center will use it against the person.
Now, that's one of the things about it, is that I think part of these changes is that these agencies are going to be sharing information more readily now. And so regional center will always be aware of what IHSS is determining. Is that right?
That's exactly one of the bullet points. That's another new thing where they are all coordinating together. What's sad, though, is they're coordinating Medi-Cal, IHSS, Regional Center, Department of Health and Human Services. They're all networking so that your regional center case manager will be able to see what you're getting in other benefits. The concern is, like I said, they all want to guard their pot of money. I get it. It's taxpayer dollars. But by regional center saying, well, IHSS says you don't need those things, then we don't think you need those things. So I don't know if it's going to pan out like that. Time is going to tell us, but that's our big concern.
So just to be clear, we have not yet seen it play out, whether it's going to be this way, but that's our worry, is that if regional center, and so Celeste was sort of asking a little bit about what it means about they'll be the last resort. To clarify, regional center has always been the payer of last resort. And that basically means if there is a service that some other part of, the support structure can provide, if the school system can provide therapy, then regional center isn't going to provide therapy because you have to get it through the school.
Right. If
IHSS can provide, like you said, protective supervision, then regional center is not going to provide it because IHSS is doing that.
Right.
If every other place, every other avenue is not available to provide whatever it is, then regional center steps up and does the job. That's what they mean when they say they're the last resort. The
payer of last resort. So, for example, I have parents who say, my child's not getting enough speech therapy at school. I want regional center to give us speech therapy as well. It doesn't work that way because there is a federal regulation state there is no cap on speech therapy in the school. The schools try and say that to save money. So you can't get the therapies. Now, payer of last resort, for example, there's no other agency that will pay for recreational services. Okay. So regional center will pay for swimming lessons, horseback riding, things like that. But what's happening that I'm concerned about with this new model and new policy is that we're already seeing a huge trend with IHSS statewide where they're coming in and just stripping people's protective supervision away. And parents are calling me and they're really upset. They're calling us and they're getting on my calendar and they're really upset. And I don't blame them. Their child maybe is now a young adult and he's had protective supervision for 10 years and nothing has changed, and they come in and take it away. What's happening is that the county now being required to pay more of the cost for various reasons. Some of it is that the county did not come in and assess cases in a timely manner, so they're being punished. You know, they're being punished by the state saying, well, we're withdrawing our funding. So when you get, say you live in Los Angeles County and you're getting protective supervision, you know, you're getting paid X amount of dollars every month. Now, because LA County might be in that disciplinary phase until they get their things, you know, fixed, they're paying, the county is paying all of the money that you get as a paid provider, and they're paying for their social workers and their administrative staff paying the bill, whereas in the past they got a huge portion of that covered by the state of California and the federal government. So with that trend going on in the state, my biggest concern is parents, and really we're not trying to get more work because we're swamped, but we're finding unless a person has a professional helping them, they're not going to be successful in getting back their benefits from IHSS. I can't say judges are in on it because I've known these judges. They're, you know, solid people, but we're finding that parents aren't being successful in getting their benefit back.
Let me ask you something. I mean, this kind of just goes back to a little bit what we were talking about before, but you said that this change with IHSS and Regional Center are now communicating with each other and sort of the more stricter application of, you know, they have to get IHSS first. Now, you said that shouldn't affect respite because there's a distinct difference between IHSS services and respite services.
Right. Respite is not offered.
Would you expect that, what about for like a personal assistant? Would that also be unaffected, or do you think there's a possibility that could be?
It could be a problem because if you're going to your case manager at Regional Center and you say, I need my young adult or my son or my daughter who's a teenager, I need a personal assistant because IHSS has taken away their protective supervision, or IHSS is saying they don't qualify. There's a chance that Regional Center could say, well, then it's not really a need. But you see, the benefit criteria is different for a personal assistant versus protective supervision. So my concern is that because of the concern for budgeting, and it's not the state budget we're concerned about, the concern that I see is it could easily be that this new way of Regional Center handling things, that the public is going to lose out on benefits that they should get because one agency says you don't need it when maybe they do need it, or it was taken away, but they didn't know to call a professional to help them get it back. So I'm concerned. And there's another issue with the respite. You brought up respite. They have a tool that regional centers throughout the state, all 21, are going to be using. We don't know what that tool is. We've been trying to find out.
Now, I looked up a little bit, and what I had seen, and if anyone has information, if you were part of like the test group or whatever, please let us know. Because I saw some information that said that several months ago, I think it was, maybe last year, they had a very brief test phase where they tried it out a little bit to see and got feedback for a time on this new regional center tool. From my understanding, the idea is they want to standardize how respite hours are calculated across the whole state. So rather than just a caseworker says, oh, it seems like you need some more, and maybe they give you another 30 or another 15 or who knows what, that there will be more of a, I mean, I can only guess, right? A chart, something, a checklist, something like that. Maybe it's like when you fill out your taxes and you have to do your deduction. We'll calculate the number of respite deductions you need. I don't know, right?
Well, here's the thing, and I sound like I'm the naysayer.
Gonzalo said the tool's available online. Teresa, can you try and find that for us? And you can.
We've looked.
Try to find it and post it if you can. All right.
So the thing here.
Oh, yeah, even better. Yeah, if you have a link, please post it and we can take a look.
Here's the problem with that. The reason there's an issue here is there is no cap on respite through Regional Center. So, but we hear from our clients, they live in Sacramento, that regional center says we only give this many hours. They live in LA, that regional center says we only give this many hours. And people walk away thinking they're getting what they're the maximum. There is no cap. So what happens is this mom is talking to that mom, or they're on, Facebook pages. And one mom says, yeah, I have 50 hours of respite every month. And another mom said, well, I only have 20. And so because of that, I believe is one of the reasons they're trying to streamline the respite, because there is no cap. And they've been telling parents there's a cap. So what I think they might want to do, because there is no cap, what they might do is say, this is what all the regional centers are going to give. If you need more, you're going to have to prove that you need more, because some regional centers are already doing that.
And that is generally how a lot of things with regional center work, is that you have to get, you ask for the services, you show that there's a need for services, you receive, let's say, some respite hours. To get more, you need to make sure you've used them and show that it's not enough, right?
You can
I think that's similar to what they were saying about the IHSS, is that you need to be using your IHSS before regional center is going to come in and add on to that.
And here's the other thing. When my son passed away and I started this work, it was because no one was telling me or other parents what was available. Many times we have families coming to us who never heard of IHSS, but they've had regional center services for 15 years. They've never heard of IHSS. Really, if there's anyone mandated to tell you about it, it is the regional center. So what I think is going to happen now is I'm hoping the regional centers will really explain to people what IHSS is and that they need it. Unfortunately, with the climate in the state right now, parents getting IHSS on their own, for protective supervision anyway, it's almost impossible. They're denying everybody. So it's a conundrum, I think it'll be good if regional centers telling people. I have a person on my calendar this morning I spoke to. Her regional center sent her to us. So, in the past, regional centers hesitated to do that because, we're not a legal aid, but legal aid doesn't actually do the work for you. They'll just give you some free advice. So I think the respite issue isn't anything to be concerned about. I think it might actually clear things up, because we get calls all the time. Well, so-and-so gets this much and I only get this much. How come, So
it's really just, well, the regional center you're with, the worker you get, and how they're feeling that day. It seems like it just changes on a dime.
I almost think streamlining or having some guidelines so all the regional centers are saying the same thing might actually be a good thing.
Okay. Actually, so why don't we try and let's go through some of these comments and see if anyone has any questions, maybe related, maybe not related. And then I do have another thing I wanted to ask you when we get back to our topic. So going back to the beginning, Celeste had, I think, two questions. Any recommendations for trusts and conservatorship? And do you have any recommendations for conservatorship or living trusts in Palmdale area?
I don't know.
Probably not specifically.
Yeah, I don't know any players in that area. But what I do know is if your child is getting public benefits, it's a good idea. And I should have done this myself. The shoemaker's kids. My kids don't have it. But really, we all need to have special needs trusts set up. Now, you don't have to have a lot of money to get it going. But what it is if our children are gifted any money, or someone dies and they get an inheritance, or I die, and my assets go to my kids who have disabilities, it goes directly into that special needs trust, and they can continue to receive their public benefits. Otherwise, the money they get or the gifting they get could throw them out into the area where they have too much income for public benefits. So a special needs trust. Conservatorship. I can't tell you anyone. We used to send people to a gentleman, an attorney down that way, but he has been overworked, and so we're not sending people there. He's a friend of mine and all that, but he's got too much work. Conservatorship needs to be done because of various reasons. One is, when they're a client of the regional center, they get a limited conservatorship, which means there are different powers. And so you take whatever powers you think your child needs you to have. and whatever you think they can manage, you let them have. So it's not like a full person estate conservatorship like you hear with elderly people or whatever. So a conservatorship is necessary. And I'm going to tell you, people don't realize this, but I've seen it in my own practice numerous times. People with developmental disabilities are often the target of sexual predators. And parents don't know this, but if your adult child over 18 is not conserved and they're in a day program, or you have someone in your home that's caring for them and you even see them get molested, you cannot do anything about it. The perpetrators, it's considered consensual unless your child, who is developmentally disabled, has the ability to go in front of a jury and claim they did not give consent. None of our kids can do that. So the perpetrator gets to walk scot-free. And the perpetrators that do this, they know that. They know if it's a non-conserved human, they can have their way. Another reason for conservative, you're in charge of marriage, where they live. If they don't know how to look for a neighborhood that's safe and fill out paperwork for an apartment, then you want that power.
Well, and you, like you're saying, with the limited conservatorship, it doesn't have to be all those things, but you can choose based on what your child's level of understanding is, things like that. Anyway, this is not a whole conservatorship time, so we should move on. But it is good stuff to know, and I know you've talked a lot about some of those dangers in the past at our seminars and such. So it's good to share that. Nancy said, "Thank you for your support." Thank you. Callie said, my regional services, my child does need protective supervision hours, but IHSS making their own determination as well. So love to see how this is going to unfold. I mean, it's true.
Me too.
I mean, I think the big part of what we're saying is if it is as in theory they should be doing it, that IHSS will be the first one to make their determination. They'll decide what hours they can provide, and then regional center is going to come in afterwards and is going to try their best to fill in all the gaps. Then that's great. But our concern is regional center is going to look at this and say, well, IHSS did their assessment. We're privy to all that information. And if they don't think you need it, why would we? Right? That's our worry.
Well,
but we
my
can't.
worry is because I've seen over the years I've been doing this work, I've seen how all these agencies want to protect their bucket of money. It's really what it boils down to. Regional center case managers are actually instructed not to offer you services. They might offer you respite because they know most of the time you can't find anyone to do it. But they are required to let you ask. So if you don't know what to ask for, you're not going to ask. But I think that this whole thing with them really keeping tabs on what you get through IHSS is a possible concern for people not getting the benefits.
I think Celeste had been asking earlier about, are they just being stricter, or is this related to cutting back on funding, tighter budgets at regional center?
Well, regional center funding is pretty much going to be the same from the budget that I studied and was part of hearing about at the Capitol. I think it's more about, it's always going to be about the money, So as much as we don't want to think of it that way, that is really usually the foundation of anything going on. And our state is not in a huge crisis financially. Like I said earlier, it's counties. I'll give you an example. A lot of our loved ones that get IHSS and protective supervision are in the CFCO program. There's various Medi-Cal programs. Some parents don't know what their kid is in, and you don't even need to know. But that program requires that whoever is on the CFCO program through IHSS must be assessed exactly 12 months apart.
We've talked before about how, some, when you're at IHSS, if you've been on it for over a year and it's your reassessment, then they can extend it out to 18 months, but not on CFCO. That is a strict 12-month deadline. So because the counties got behind throughout the state, they were not doing their CFCO
reassessments timely and instituted some, I guess you could say, disciplinary action by removing state and federal funding until they get their act together. So unfortunately, that's a simple answer. It's got a lot more layers to it, but that's a simple answer of what's happening.
Yeah. So I don't recall what this comment was in response to, but I think it's funny. It says, because they know that Galt Advocacy has big guns and that you guys know your rights.
Yes.
Now, I don't know who Galt Advocacy, but we do.
I love it.
We do know our stuff, and that's because you have 10 or more years of experience. How long have we been? Have you
20?
20. Oh my goodness.
I started in 2006 studying all the missions. In 2010, I started working with families, but it was just me and your brother.
Okay, so Galt Advocacy has been 16 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
say
feels
my
like
brother,
longer.
my uncle.
Your uncle, I meant. Sorry. Yes, sorry. So I've known this guy since he was in the womb. Yep.
All right.
He's like, let's move on now.
Yeah, let's move on.
I could tell stories.
Elisa said, I get more I think that's in response to respite. She gets a lot of respite. That's good, but like you said, it's hard to get respite workers, especially if you live out in a
right
rural area.
What she might think is up to someone else,
yeah,
or it
perhaps.
might be. Who knows? You know.
We got a lot of questions. You got to get through these quickly. Okay. I was told you have to use all of it every month. Oh, again, about respite. I was told you have to use all of it every month through the year and then prove you need more. I think that's generally true, but I don't know if you have to do it for like the whole year, do you?
Yeah, that's not in the regs, I don't believe. However, I do think it makes sense.
That's
if you want more, but you're not using what you have, that makes sense. And a lot of people don't know the difference between respite and a personal assistant. Respite is in the home. They cannot take your kid out or your loved one out. Some people break that rule, I know. But a personal assistant is someone that can do the things with your loved one, like go to the movies, go bowling, take them to their different activities, like, swimming lessons or horseback riding. And so that's what a personal assistant can do. And they get paid a little bit more than what a respite person gets usually. And so it's a little bit easier to find someone to do a personal assistant work than respite.
Okay. Lisa said she had an adoption question. We might get to that if we find it.
If not, call. You can get on my calendar.
Teresa said she was not able to find the tool, the respite tool, but she did find. Oh, actually, I don't know. There was another post. I think Gonzalo did post another link, which might. Yes. Oh, I don't. Sorry, I almost deleted it. Also posted that. If you can check that and see if that's the tool. Okay. Posted a few things. Anyway, there's lots of useful stuff, information. We really appreciate you guys being helpful in helping us get this information out as well. Okay, here's the question about adoption. Elise said, my foster child was 15 and Down syndrome, is going to be I think it means adopted. Can I ask the courts to help with conservatorship when he turns 18 so his mom can't take him back, or can she take him back?
Okay. When he's 18, no one has rights over him, just like everyone else. But I would encourage you to get conservatorship. No, they will not pay for that. There are ways you can do it yourself. I'm actually in my free time now learning how to do conservatorships. I'm allowed to do them. So I'm going to help families. I'm not there yet, but maybe by the time he's 18, I could help you with that. The cost is also an issue for a lot of people. The cost for conservatorship is anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000. But that's why I'm trying to learn how to do it, so I can do it for people for pennies comparatively.
Is it comparatively more difficult, or potentially have more barriers to conservatorship when there is when it's an adopted child and there's a biological parent in the picture that could contest the conservatorship?
Well, I'm going to tell you, my 3 that are conserved are all adopted with Down syndrome. And I know one thing: the investigator would probably not want the biological parent, and that would be communicated to the judge. They would want the parent that has been caring for the child, the one that's been feeding them and clothing them, and the fact that the child was in foster care but now turning 18. No, a judge is not going to give the parent the conservatorship, the biological parent. Because when you're getting conservatorship, they review things about the child and their care. So there'll be someone that comes in and asks you, the foster parent, who will be the adoptive parent, what your intentions are, why do you want to take care of it, and so on and so on. And they would have to do the same if the biological parent contested it. Now you have to know, if the biological parent contests you becoming the conservator, they're going to have to pay for their own lawyer at $6,000 to $8,000. So that's usually where you find the people that want to contest it drop off, because they don't want to put the money in it. And it could sometimes be more than that if they're contesting it, because it could take longer. So I don't think you have anything to worry about in getting him conserved and the biological parent.
Okay. Wendy said, our friend who is a paralegal, she helped get mine done.
See, you can also you can look up legal document preparation by someone.
Actually, sorry, I'm not sure if this is in regards to the conservatorship, or this actually might be in regards to the special needs trust.
Oh, well, either way, you can have things done by paralegals. That's what I am. And you can have it done. You can Google where legal document preparers are in your neck of the woods, and you can go there. Now, they're not going to go to court with you, but the court part is the easiest part. You just go in, you're there 5 minutes, and you leave. So they won't go to court with you, but they'll help you fill out all the paperwork, and you'll have to probably, in some courts, you can file your paperwork by email, and some, online, and some you have to take it in. So you probably have to do the footwork, but one of those document preparers can help you do all the paperwork. Just make sure when you find one that they actually have done limited conservatorships, because there's different kinds of conservatorships.
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead. There was a lot of back and forth, and I think Teresa did post a few places that do conservatorships, but as she said, we don't have experience with them, so use your best judgment. And if you have anything that I would say, if someone sees something, for a lawyer that does conservatorships, and they're like, is this normal? Is this weird? Talk to us or talk to somebody and say, is this a good way for them to do their practice, right? Is this a good thing? If they're needing a whole bunch of money up front or things like that, maybe it's...
Yeah. Also, you can go to the California Bar Association and Google that lawyer and see if there's been any disciplinary action on them. And that's always a good thing. I wouldn't hire a lawyer unless I do that. And I have a lot of lawyer friends, but I've researched all of them. I know if they've got disciplinary action.
It's one of those fields where everything's out in the open, right?
Yeah.
It's like if they've messed up in the past,
it's going to be on there.
It'll be on record.
Bar.
Okay. Let's jump down to Veronica. I asked for more respite PA hours, and my regional center supervisor said I had to use my IHS hours, which to me spells fraud since IHS is in home. I mean,
exactly.
like we were talking about that. They are,
and that's exactly what I was worried about. So what you need to know, Veronica, is that was false information. It is not accurate. And if that's so we do have a regional center department, and if you're one of our clients, you get access to that for no cost. But you can call and get an appointment with Vinaya, who manages that department, and have a conversation with her, and she can write a letter on your behalf. We don't charge much for that. And so you can do that unless you want us to help you manage your IHSS and your other benefits, and then become a member and you have access. But that was false information.
Okay. Alejandra asked, what age do you get a personal assistant?
There is no regulation on that. So you're going to hear different things from different regional centers. One regional center say we don't give anyone under 18. Another says we don't give anyone under, there is no regulation. So that's their own person. That's their own policy in that particular regional center. Can we get a 6-year-old a personal assistant? Yes. Sometimes it takes a bit of a fight, but if they're in their teens or adults, there should be no fight.
All right. Wendy, I believe, said for her conservatorship was only about $1,000. I think that's when you went through your friend who was a paralegal, and that sounds about right for when you
If
sort
I
of
was
do it by yourself, right? The document.
if I was going to do all of it for a person, I would have to, because of my overhead, I'd have to charge a minimum, at least $1,500. So having your, if you know someone who's a paralegal and they don't have a lot of overhead, they don't have a company they're working for, they're just doing it out of, in their own little office, $1,000 seems reasonable. What do you have here?
Well, I think this is the
Tool.
potentially, I don't know if this is the,
This is what our friend recommended to us. It's not up yet, but it is open for comment. It says it's there.
so this is the draft, perhaps not the final
Draft.
version of
Yeah.
the respite tool. It's probably a lot that we probably won't be able to take a look at it right now, but
The link is there. I put it in the PDF in the comments.
the link is in the comment section. So if you yourself,
Yeah,
you
it's
can.
open for
We
public
might do
comment.
we might do a follow-up video, maybe a short talking about what we think about this tool
I'll study that
later on.
Yeah, I'll study that. And what I think is it's open for public comment. So this is your chance to respond to this and say what you like or what you don't like or what your concerns are.
Here's a good one. Neighbor said, my IEP does not want to write negative things about my child. They only want to put positive things that they want to work on or that they have seen. Should I still submit the IEP to the upcoming appeal? I guess it's IHSS appeal.
Do you mean a court? If you're meaning to the judge,
To a hearing?
a hearing, it's almost not going to matter what you provide because you're going to lose. And I hate to say it that way, urge people, but it is the climate right now in our state. What I always say is I tell my families to write on the page where you sign on your IEP, to sign with the exceptions of. So you can sign with the exception of and then list all the negative behaviors that are taking place on campus. So, and then when you do that, you are opening the door where they have to consider your concerns. And that's a requirement by law. So what happens then is you can honestly say to the judge, my IEP is under appeal. There were things in the IEP that were missing. There was missing information. And so then you don't give it to them. But a judge may say, if you're going to an appeal like court, I have to have it. And I personally don't say no to judges, but
Yeah.
you can if you want, and you could say it's under appeal.
It's a tricky thing, and it could backfire.
And it could backfire. But we have our ways of doing it where it doesn't. But that is one of the biggest problems we have between IHSS, social workers, and the judges. They use the IEP to establish whether or not the person is eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Because in their mind, if they're banging their head or eloping at home, they're going to do it at school. Well, why doesn't the school mention it? Well, the reason the school doesn't mention it is if they put it in the IEP, which they're required to do, but they don't, because if they put it in the IEP, they now must pay for a behavioral assessment and possibly a behavioral aid. All of that costs a good portion of money that the school district doesn't want to spend. So it's not that the school district is saying they're not supposed to. They are required by law to put them in. They don't want to because they don't want to pay for the services.
Yeah. All right. Kayla asked, is a CalAble account counted as income for Medi-Cal?
No.
It's not.
The CalAble is another way to save some money, but there are limits and boundaries on that. Whereas a special needs trust, there's none. You could put $1 million can drop into that on one day. Whereas a CalAble, you're only allowed to put a certain amount in every year.
All right. Kathina said, for conservatorship, are you legally required to notify anyone of what you're doing? In my case, there was an adoption involved and I'm the birth parent. We legally have an open adoption and the adoptive parents never notified me of the conservatorship. Now, I was under the impression that sort of part of the process of conservatorship is that all relevant family members did need to be
So let me see. This person
notified.
Okay. We legally have an open adoption. Okay. Here's the deal. When you go for conservatorship, even though you had an open adoption, you had no legal rights. So you were not supposed to be notified. So that's why you weren't notified. So as much as that might make you feel bad, I totally get it. But when a child is adopted, the birth parents' legal rights are gone. So I had open adoption with all three of mine. So that was up to me, what I was willing to allow. Okay. And I allowed a lot because all three of mine had Down syndrome. And I got to know the parents. I got to know their story, their life. And I had an open adoption. But when it came to conservatorship, right at all. So they're not notified.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. That surprised me.
And you can't do anything about it. You can't like open it up and fight it. It won't happen because you had no legal right.
Okay. Christy asked, and sorry, we kind of got off of our main topic, but we have a lot of questions coming through and a lot of people here. So
that's good.
Christy asked, at what age will Regional Center provide transportation for community outings, work errands, etc.?
Regional Center will do that. Usually won't, unless you have a personal assistant that's doing that with them. But I
mean, could it happen, or like if it's for something like transportation to therapies or doctor's appointments, if you have like personal issues with transportation, you cannot.
If you
don't have a personal vehicle or something.
If you can't drive, or you have some issue, Regional Center can help with that. But for example, IHSS will say that taking your child to these appointments is your parental responsibility.
Right. They won't take any exceptions to that.
But that would be a Regional Center exception. If you can't drive, you don't have a car, they can help you with bus passes and things like that.
Okay.
Sometimes Uber, but
it's expensive. But hey, if it's the only way it works. Myra said, can a family member or parents do personal assistance for their child?
Wow, that's a really good question of parents getting paid that. However, I don't know how they got paid, but Vinaya might be a good person to ask that of. You're welcome to call our office and ask Vinaya. But I have heard of parents getting paid, and then I've heard of parents being denied because they're parents. So I don't know.
To your knowledge, officially by regulation, should it not be possible?
That's what I've always been told. You know, my husband is a personal assistant to my girls, but he is their stepfather. He has no legal rights to them. They would not allow me to do it. Well, I didn't have time to do it, but he's more retired than me.
Yeah.
So he does it. But
so would he not count as a family member either?
No, because it doesn't count when they're not related. Now, one of the things I do know is on the self-determination program, and I'm not encouraging you all to go out and get that program. You need to be educated in it. But on that program, parents can get paid to do some of these things.
Okay. Like you said, it's not for everyone, for sure. But let me see here. Come on. There we go. Looking at placement in a small group home funded by the Regional Center, is this funding in jeopardy?
No.
Not as far as we know, right?
Not as far as I know. However, what parents don't know is when you decide to go that route, there's an assumption your loved one is going to be somewhere nearby. They can choose anywhere in the state. So I tried that with my son, Stephen, at one point, and we'd get calls about 6 hours from our home, and that's not what I wanted. So we didn't go that route. But you can't expect to get it close by unless you wait a long time. I do know they're in need of more group homes. They've always had a need. They've reached out to my husband and I numerous times locally to start a group home. It's just not going to happen in my lifetime because I've done this work instead. But I do know that there's always been a problem with not enough group homes. I don't know what level your child is, but there's, like a level 4I is the highest level. And I've been asked to open those over the years and we just had to say no, but there's a huge need. I know someone who needed their loved one placed, and they placed them. We're in Northern California near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. They were placed in close to San Diego somewhere. Parents had to accept it because they were in a crisis. But the point is that that wouldn't be what I want for my kiddos.
Right. Yeah. All right. Adriana said, once we have the conservatorship, how it works with Social Security, we need to open a rep payee account, or what type of account Social Security will require.
If you have SSI already, you need a rep payee account. I just had a woman in here yesterday. She needed that. So the money for her son, who's now a young adult, he's 20, was being dumped into her bank account. And Social Security is at least 2 to 3 years behind in their auditing. So they just caught up with her, and she owes them a huge amount of money because she didn't realize that he needed a separate account. Even if you have a child, they need a separate rep payee account.
I have no clue any of that means, so I'm glad you know.
I do know.
All right. Blanca said, we had an IEP meeting on March 31st. My child's teacher has not given me a copy. I emailed and went in personally to request. I have not received it yet. Is there anything they can do about that to make that? I mean, end of March, April, May. I mean, that's 2 months.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not legal. What I would do is I wish Dana were here because she'd have lots of good answers. One thing you can always do is call the California Department of Education and file a complaint that your school district has not, they've made a procedural violation, meaning they did not provide you with your IEP. They need to provide it to you the day of the IEP, not months later. So if you really feel you need more guidance than I'm giving you, you can call our office and get on Dana's calendar. She's our special education advocate. Her calendar is really full, but she squeezes in appointments just to give people advice. That is a fee. If you're already our client, it's not a fee. But if you're not our client, it's a $95 fee to have a 1-hour consult with her. And she could give you a lot of information in an hour, believe me.
Okay. All right. There's a few more questions. We've got 8 more minutes maybe on our live. So let's try to get through these. And then I wanted to ask one last question about our main topic today. So we love having the questions. There's been a lot of great questions for conversation today. So really appreciate y'all being here. What's the difference between a regular trust and a special needs trust?
A regular trust, I'm not a tax person or a lawyer for trust. Very simple in my mind is if it's a regular trust, it counts against your loved one financially. If it's a special needs trust, it's waived. So you can still receive IHSS, Medi-Cal, everything.
Okay.
For more information on that, you might want to do some research or
talk to a tax professional, something like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We can't give out too much about tax related things.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I think we should try not to answer this one too completely because I bet we could go on about this for a while. But what are your opinions on self-determination?
Well, that wouldn't be a long conversation.
Oh, okay.
Frankly, right. I personally haven't branched out to do that myself because I don't have the time. You have to study and go through a training if you do it right so that you know, and you have to have a financial person helping you manage, and you have to set up a budget. And so what people don't understand is what you've used in the last year before you set up your special needs trust. Let's say regional centers put out $60,000. Well, your new budget, they're going to assume that it's the same unless you show a need for more services. So there's a lot to it. And I don't recommend that if you're a really, really tired, worn out parent, don't go that route. It's not going to be worth it. I have a friend who was doing this for people, and her own boys, between the two boys, she got $1 million in her budget a year for the two boys to help them have all the things that they need. And what's the benefit is when you just work through the regional center like I do, you have to use their vendors. and their vendors have pay schedules. If you do it on your own through self-determination and you feel you want a personal assistant, but you can only find someone that's willing to get paid $50 an hour, you can put that in your budget. So there's some good things, but if you're a really tired, worn out parent, I would not recommend you go that route.
Okay, good to know. All right, let me get last couple of ones, and then we'll wrap up. Gene said he's accepted to level 3, and it's just a little over an hour away. I've seen it, and it looks good. Thanks for answering. Well, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And in hours, reasonable,
Yes,
not too
reasonable.
bad, not too bad.
Yes, that's great.
Teresa posted a link to explain personal assistance. Blanca said, I'd gladly pay. I stumbled upon this live. Can I get the phone number? What were we talking about a moment ago?
Our office number is 707-566-7600, and you just push 0 to get our front desk, and Michelle or Tina will help you and put you on whoever's calendar you want to go on. If you want to go on mine and you got questions.
I think we were talking about regional special
Dana,
education. Maybe you were talking about Dana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's who you probably just tell them if it's special education regional center or IHSS, whoever's at the front desk will know who to direct you to.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to ask, getting back to these new regulations. So we've got the agencies are talking to each other. Regional center is going to make sure that you go to get your IHSS first. There's this new tool that we're using. I mean, we have expressed a lot of our concerns about how these things could affect families, how they could be used to withhold the money and whatnot. Are there any things that you think could be positive benefits for some of these changes?
I was thinking about that. Funny, I thought that you were going to actually ask that.
I
was thinking about that. One of the ways it could be positive is more parents will find out about IHSS. Because if the parent is saying, well, I need this and this, and then they go, well, have you applied for IHSS? And the parent goes, well, I don't know what that is. I think one of the benefits is getting the word out there to families that there is this program called IHSS. However, I encourage all of you that don't have it to consider a professional. I'm not trying to get your case. Like I said, we're swamped. We actually, once we take your case, we're willing to take it. We don't take every case. Once we're willing to take your case, you're actually on a waiting list for a few weeks because so many clients. If you're already planning on going to a hearing, we kind of boost you to the front of the line, the front of the queue, and assess your case on a more rapid basis. So I think one of the benefits is more families will be learning about IHSS. I don't think IHSS is going to be happy about
well,
this.
maybe not. Now, I know a lot of their press releases and whatnot, a lot of the PR from regional centers talking about how much easier it will be, that the parents won't have to share as much information about IHSS with regional center. Do you see that as being much of an improvement, or was that not really a big deal in the first place?
I'm not sure how. It's always been an issue where when you have your assessment with regional center, they ask you how many hours you're getting and that sort of thing. Now they're not going to need to ask that. You're not going to need to report it because they can review and see what you're getting. Benefit, I don't see any benefit in it. I don't.
One less question on the review. Yeah.
I just am very skeptical because I know what's going on in the state with IHSS, and I know people's hours are getting slashed right and left, and we know by the amount of calls we're getting. It's horrible. It just really upsets me, but I'm doing the best I can to help as many of those families as we can. If that's happened to you and they come in and take it away, I encourage you to call us because it's free to talk, and we don't take money up front from people anyway. The poorest person can afford us, but the thing is, I would want to go over the case with you and see if the county made the right decision. They are now doing their assessments for protective supervision, reassessments. They're doing things a little different. A lot of these cases, I talked to a mom yesterday, and this is not uncommon. They're only coming in for 15, 20, 30 minutes and then going and slashing the benefit. That way they're getting in as many assessments as they can to catch up with that issue of not assessing. So if that happens to you, you'll know where to call. You'll know where to go.
And what I would want to add on to this is that it's really helpful for us here, because of course we want to help people. If they call, you've got an issue, we want to talk to you about it and figure out what's the best advice, even if we don't take you on as a client. But it's also really beneficial for us to know what's going on out there, right?
Yeah.
Again, even if we don't take you on as a client, we don't work with you, forever. Just hearing your stories, even here on Facebook, if you want to send us private messages, knowing what's going on and what the trends are across the state is extremely helpful for us to get out the most beneficial information for people. So absolutely, please, whenever you have stuff going on, if you've had a bad experience with a social worker or you had a hearing that went really sideways, let us know. We want to hear about these things because we want to be able to tell people where the winds are blowing, right? That's a big part of why we do these lives all the time, is that we want to share like the newest information about what's going on.
We don't necessarily know it all. I've studied all this for so many years, having raised a tribe of 10 children, and being involved in the special needs world and special education. We don't know everything, but I am, trying to stay up on what's happening with the government and what's happening with the budgets. Your benefits are not in trouble unless the benefit of Medi-Cal, there'll be a lot of people losing their Medi-Cal. If you're getting Medi-Cal based on your income, your child's not getting it based on a waiver. And the new, starting in January of next year, you're only allowed to have $2,000 in assets.
Now, because I know there's still been a debate about that. And the last I heard was that the Assembly people were frankly offended that they were even proposing to put the asset limit back on.
Yeah, I was in the budget meeting invited, and there's a lot of grumbling about it, but I can't see any changes. It looks like that's going to be going through.
Okay.
They said if they can stall it, it would be July of next year. But parents need to know that if you lose your Medi-Cal because your income is considered too high with the new asset level, and you have a child that's a client of the regional center, they can still that child can still get Medi-Cal through a waiver. And you can always call us and learn about that.
Well, we're going to keep a close eye on that. And especially if it turns out that they do finalize that new asset limit, we definitely are going to try and get Lisa Ramsey on again, because
yeah,
within 10 days they have approved it, and we're supposed to be contacting our assembly and telling them not to do it.
What?
It's been approved. Teresa says
it's been approved but not finalized. We have 10 days to get
because they'll vote on it this month.
Okay.
A link on where to do that.
All right, Teresa's going to post a link, so get on that, because we really it's a crazy drastic measure that they're trying to take there. And,
they expect about a quarter in California who get Medi-Cal will lose their Medi-Cal.
Wow, that's insane. All right, we have to get out of here. We got to make room for the Spanish Live. Are you going to be here for the Spanish Live as well? All right. Well, then
planning on it.
Either Nicole or other Myra will be prepared to share about some of these things as well for those who follow us who speak Spanish. So if you do, you can join them as well and ask some more great questions. But thank you all for being here. Thank you, Myra, for being here. And we will see you next week.